Well, good morning. Breakfast with the broker every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. We have a very special guest. Last week we had the meteorologist, the surfing meteorologist. Well, now we have a real estate extraordinaire in Canada. So without further ado, and now by way of Toronto, Canada, he is the chief strategist of RE/MAX Integra in Ontario, which is now. He is a Carleton University graduate. He is a father, a son, a husband, and he is a don't mess with the Zohan fan. Did someone say Trailer Park Boys too? Stand up and make some noise for Christopher Alexander.
David, thank you. That introduction was awesome.
The funny thing is I'm talking about RE/MAX Integra, and then I'm like, wait a minute, did RE/MAX LLC buy RE/MAX Integra or not? And then I realized it was Canada, so I'm good.
No, they did. They bought Canada too. So
did they? All right. So I am sorry. You're now you've been roped into that RE/MAX LLC, so you're good.
Yes, it's been a great transition, and we can talk about that a little later if you want.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Things are going very well.
Awesome. So pre-pandemic, Toronto was probably one of the hottest markets. Maybe it's certainly in North America, right? So Toronto's always been development and beautiful condos and people wanting to be there, and just so very it's pretty expensive to live. Tell us a little bit of how the Toronto market is currently.
Well, you brought up a couple of interesting points, David. I mean, and I think it's important to point out that in Canada, and specifically Ontario, which is the province that Toronto is located in, has been on a upward price trajectory for more than 25 years. And most recently in the last decade, prices have more than doubled. And so, yes, in 2008, we had about 6 months of low consumer confidence, which led to a slight softening. But since then, it has been a wild ride. And the story has really been much what most of the United States is experiencing, and that is very low inventory, extreme demand, and upward pressure on prices.
Do you have an idea, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, I probably should have asked you, but do you have an idea of, average sale price, in Toronto, just to give us a little bit of a number that kind of that we could come close to, even if it's an estimate?
So I have the exact numbers. So we just released a big report yesterday. We call it the Hot Pockets report, and it encompasses the Greater Toronto area, which is basically just over 6 million people. The city of Toronto is just under 3 million people, and the surrounding suburbs make up the rest of that population base. But in the city of Toronto, the average price is 1.1 million in change. And for detached homes, it's 1.4 million. And so, some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, that is huge. But you have to remember, in Canada, we're basically on the peso, and our dollar is worth about 20% to 30% less than yours at any given time. So it's still, from an international buyer's perspective, at a discount, especially when you compare it to some of the more expensive markets in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, look, you look at Boca Raton. We're not doing year-over-year average sale price, but I did the last 30 days of closed sales, and the average sale was over $1 million. So, that was the average. It wasn't the median. So, because there are some $20-30 million prices that have closed, in the last 30 days. So, that certainly skews it. But, Toronto's market has always been, really, really strong, like you said, for so many years. What do you attribute that to? I mean, obviously it's, just like, regular simple economics of supply and demand. But, what attracts people to Toronto? What attracts people to Ontario?
Well, I mean, Canada's got a supply issue across the country, and our government has been really big on encouraging immigration. We typically get about 300,000 new Canadians every year. But the big difference in what a lot of other countries do is you have to be highly qualified to make it and become an immigrant to Canada. So you have to have an education. You have to be entering with a job most of the time. And so a lot of the immigrants that we get are highly qualified. They have some money and are able to enter the real estate market pretty quickly. It usually takes them about 2 or 3 years. So that's one factor. And the other thing is, out of that 300,000, about 100,000 of those end up in the Greater Toronto area. And so our three levels of government in Ontario, the municipal level in Toronto, the provincial level, and the federal level, have been really trying to get Toronto onto the world stage. They've made huge investments in infrastructure. I mean, development has gone crazy. There were many years where Toronto had more cranes in the ground or in the sky rather than anywhere else in North America. And so, and by a good median, I mean, I think at one point we had 145 cranes, and I think New York City was second, and they had like 110. So there's been a huge effort to really make Toronto an international city, an attractive place to live. But also, we got good schools, very low crime. For example, if our murder rate gets over, if there are more than 80 people a year that get murdered in the city of Toronto, it's huge news. And in contrast to Chicago, where there's like over 1,000, it's quite a difference. So for a major city that offers such a great quality of life, it's been attractive. And plus the schools are really good. There's a really big international influence. You've got Chinese buyers sending their kids to school here and buying them like $3-4 million houses to go to school.
It was just like your dorm, right? It was just like your dorm. Yeah, the same thing.
So there's been a lot of international influence, and it's really just been a perfect storm. And to the discredit to those three levels of government I've been talking about, there's been no national or provincial or municipal housing strategy. They can only build 44,000 units a year, and that includes both condos and freehold. And so it's been a big challenge for the city to accommodate all these new people. Building can't keep up, and there's no strategy to take the pressure off. So I expect that prices are going to continue to go up for the foreseeable future as well.
Well, that's pretty interesting. So the government caps the amount of houses that need to be or that can come out of the ground every year.
They don't cap it. The developers only have so much capacity.
Oh, okay. All right.
And that's, so 44,000 units a year.
That's crazy. So yeah, that'll give you, 100,000 people coming in with 44,000. They're probably not always hitting the 44,000, as well. So yeah, that's a big demand problem. Let's talk a little bit about, we're so close in proximity, right? And I look at, I was up in Montreal, and then I took the train over to Toronto, and went to Niagara Falls and all these things. And I mean, Canada is just beautiful in every which way, and they do an amazing job. But their transit system is really clean. It's just different because when you go in New York or you go into some of these big cities, not always clean, right? So tell us a little bit about the transit system in Canada, and is it easy access and stuff like that? Because I found it so easy to go around the city.
Yeah, I mean, there's been you can fly pretty much anywhere in the country easily, except it's much more expensive because you don't have the population base. And they're really outside of Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. There aren't big international or even regional hubs outside of those three airports. And right now, because of COVID, the government has chosen to only make Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, and Calgary international airports. And so there's huge strain on people entering the country from outside of Canada. I mean, we've been hearing a lot of horror stories about in the Toronto airport, people waiting for 2 or 3 hours on the tarmac. They get in the terminal, they're waiting another couple hours to clear customs. But in normal times, yes, it's very accessible. Some of it is kind of outdated. I mean, Toronto's had all this growth, for example, and they haven't really made as good of an investment in infrastructure as they should have. A city of 3 million people, we've only got two subway lines, and the rest are all streetcars. And yes, you can access. It's actually a very well set up system when there's no traffic and few low ridership. Like during the height of COVID, you could go anywhere in the city in like 10 minutes. But in a normal time, that 10 minutes can take 45 to an hour. So there's some great things about it. Yes, things are clean. Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver. Well, not so much Vancouver. I was there recently. I was pretty shocked at the cleanliness. But before Toronto made this big development investment, its claim to fame was that it was such a clean city, and they've really tried to make an effort to keep that reputation.
That's great. And so, we alluded to the COVID word, where, we're kind of living in the COVID world, right? Tell us a little bit about, how Canada really, because you never hear it firsthand, right? You hear it through the media and sometimes there may or may not be an agenda with that and whatnot. So, tell us a little bit about how, COVID is doing now in Canada. Are the percentages of vaccinations, are they higher maybe potentially than some of the United States, that kind of thing, and maybe some of the restrictions that COVID's put on specifically the real estate economy.
Well, I think just to roll the tape back to March 2020, March 25th. That's when things really shut down. What was very interesting, we used to, well, we still, my family still owns and operates the brand in Europe too. But Canada, the US, Europe, and much of the world all went through a very similar cycle, and that, around March 25th, everything pretty much shut down. Transactions fell off a cliff, as you guys know. But then things really exploded, and real estate became not only the hottest topic, but to me, it was kind of like the only thing people could really do to spend their time. And so you had a lot of people out there looking for properties, and much of what everybody else is experiencing. So that was very interesting on a global scale, is that COVID kind of equalized the markets across the world. But as far as Canada and COVID, I mean, Canadians are pretty hysterical about COVID and the implications. And I say that because, I spent recently with the acquisition of Integra, I spent some time in the US, in Massachusetts, where our regional offices were. And just the attitude of the average American, or at least in Massachusetts, was different. And then last week I was in Texas for the Broker Owner Conference, and people have a much more what I call common sense approach to things.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Canada, we have this, you're allowed to die from anything but COVID attitude. But generally speaking, I think, our government's had a good response, but it's very frustrating when you look to other places that have, understood that this is something that we have to, kind of live with and figure out how to live with. And we're still very much, dealing with it as a very critical, severe situation, which in a lot of ways it still is. It's just, we're still mask mandates everywhere. We have capacity limits in Ontario, where you can't have more than 25 people indoors, 100 people outdoors. Vaccination rates are really good, especially when you consider we were really late to the party. I think we're about 3 months behind the United States when it came to procuring vaccines. But now nationally, we're at about 65% of the population has both doses, and about 79% have at least one. In Ontario, it's even better. We're at like 71% fully vaxxed and 85% with one dose. And so we're hopeful that we're this fall, which everybody's seeing the numbers tick up, that we'll be able to get through it without having to shut things down like we were in the past. And also, I think too, it's important to point out our healthcare system isn't as robust as the United States. I mean, yes, it's quote unquote free. We do pay a lot of taxes to cover those expenses,
Right.
But we don't have the infrastructure like, and at Florida specifically. I mean, that you guys have some incredible medical facilities, some of them which I've been to personally, and it's just really on a different level. But yeah, we're hoping that our vaccination rates are going to carry us through.
So you mentioned that the numbers have ticked up, in Canada as well. We all become medical experts, right? Especially, as we're all social media trollers, right? We know, we're genealogists, and we're, biologists, and everything in between. So, looking at the hospitalizations and some of that, and obviously, neither you or I are medical professionals, but, when you're looking at statistics, people are saying, well, if you're vaccinated, you might not, you might get sick, but you're not typically getting hospitalized. Do you have any idea as far as the COVID numbers ticking up? Are the hospitalizations ticking up as well? That kind of thing, and just in your area.
So in Ontario, we're getting about the last 4 days, we've seen about 500 to 525 new cases a day. And what they're doing is they're starting to report how many are fully vaxxed, half vaxxed, and unvaxxed. And what's consistent is about 70 to 75% are unvaccinated that contract the virus. And everybody is waiting to see what hospitalizations are going to look like. What was really remarkable is 2 weeks ago, our caseload was about 100 per day. And then all of a sudden, bam, it got up to 500. So I think we're going to start to see where hospitalizations end up. But I think everybody in the province is just hoping and praying that new restrictions, whether they come or not, are based on hospitalizations and not caseloads, because the last 18 months, everything was mandated on projections of cases. And yeah, there was a while there where the ICUs filled up. So anyways, we're all hoping and praying for a positive outcome.
Awesome. So Gabriela Castillo, who's in Nicaragua, she mentioned, that a lot of Canadian families are getting priced out of the market, because families just can't afford homes above 600 or 750, which is crazy. When you're a kid, 600 to 750 was like, being, a multi-millionaire now. But, what do you see happening to normal middle-class families in the next 2 to 5 years in terms of real estate? And do you think migration abroad is the best immediate answer for these families?
Well, I actually get asked this question a lot from the media, and there needs to be a national housing strategy to accommodate the influx of people and the pricing pressure. And we've been saying this for years now, and it's got to start with from all levels of government to come together to come up with a strategy that's going to take some pressure off the three major cities: Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. Montreal's still half the price of Toronto, which is great on average. But the other thing in Canada, for the middle class, starting to discover different parts of the country is going to be critically important as well. I mean, Calgary, which is in Alberta, Regina. I don't know if any of you know the names of any of these cities. They're not too famous, but Regina in Saskatchewan, Calgary, St. John's in Newfoundland, Halifax in Nova Scotia. All of them have average sale prices of under 400,000. Although Halifax, I think, just passed that $400,000 mark this year. Ottawa is still pretty affordable, which is about 4.5 hours north of Toronto. So there's other cities besides Vancouver and Toronto and Montreal that are affordable. But my concern is we're not doing enough as a nation to attract people to these other cities.
Yeah. I mean, incentives, like certain areas, certainly in Florida, have incentives to bring in businesses, bring in the tech realm and all these other different businesses, private equity firms, hedge funds, all that kind of stuff, and, we're very fortunate that, a lot of these municipalities are kind of vying over, where these people are going to put their headquarters or where they're going to put, Amazon's distribution centers and those kind of things, which would be probably a pretty good plan for Canada and some of the, if you want to call them suburbia or more rural areas, or maybe more or less well-known areas might be the right term to bring in some of the businesses, because as the businesses come, certainly employees come, then relocation, and then people word of mouth, and then all of a sudden, Halifax is the next Montreal.
Well, it's interesting. Halifax does have an opportunity to kind of be like that next big city. Interesting. I seen Gabriella's comment here from Northern Ontario and Quebec, Eastern Canadian areas, all looking to stay long term. Well, is the weather nicer in Nicaragua, Gabriella? Because Northern Ontario and Quebec can be frigidly cold in the winter, so that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, interesting about, and Gabriella probably could talk about this more, but when you look at Nicaragua, Costa Rica, for 20 years ago, 15 years ago, was a very affordable place. So when you look at the U.S., a lot of people were going ahead and buying homes in Costa Rica. Well, now Costa Rica has become very expensive. And a lot of people are buying in Nicaragua and Panama and Belize and some of those areas. The only problem with obviously is Nicaragua's government, and obviously I'm not as in tune as certainly Gabriella would be, but and I guess that's the reason you don't really buy in a place where government where you're not buying the government, but you're also buying stability. I mean, as someone who wants to invest in potential paradise or want to live there for second home purposes or whatever, whether it's Canadian or United States, you're looking at places that that has some kind of stability of government, and I guess that's why maybe Nicaragua is a little less expensive than some of the other places. But
don't forget work remote too, David. I mean,
yep.
There's been a big shift in the workforce, and people can work wherever they want to now for the most part. And yeah, gosh, I'm wondering if the pendulum will swing back the other way eventually. But even for myself, like I might come down to Florida in December for a month and work for 3 weeks of it.
Yeah, I mean, no, people's perspective certainly has changed. Their lifestyles have certainly changed. What's important, obviously, to them has changed. But what we've seen is a lot of employers are not wanting to, relinquish the control and the management of people through the remote process. And not everyone, but I speak to tech companies and whatever, and they're hiring developers and software programmers, and they're saying, all these people want to live in Montana and work for me, and make ridiculous amounts of money, and I don't care I don't care what anyone says, and I'm certainly biased, but I don't believe you can possibly be as productive if you're in the office versus being remote. Like, you have to, to me, you're more focused, depending obviously the culture of the office. If it's a little, gossipy and that kind of stuff, then obviously maybe you would be, free of distractions at home without, but I know that, if I went and stayed home with 3 girls, 16, 12, and 9, and 2 dogs and a wife and sports in a refrigerator, yeah,
It's too
I'll be
distracting.
way too distracted.
Well, it's interesting, David. So I'm totally an office guy, and I got 2 little ones at home, and no privacy unless you're in a bedroom or a bathroom. But because it's all open concept. So yes, I love going to the office. My wife, however, she works very productively at home. But you're talking to our franchisees and our broker owners in Ontario, and you've got two sides of the coin. You've got some of our people are saying, I have no more room. Like, I got to expand, because my agents are all like, I got to get back to the office. I can't stand working at home. And then there are others that are like, I need to shrink because half my agents don't want to come back in. So I'm really curious to see how this plays out long term.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's interesting, and certainly certain people can work from home and multitask, and that's not me. So I always end this broadcast or podcast / Facebook Live show on 2 questions. So I don't know if you are a streaming series fan, but what's your favorite streaming series of all time, and then what are you currently watching?
TV or radio?
So right now, I would say TV, like Netflix, Hulu, that kind of thing. If you don't watch that, podcasts, radio, books that
So
you've read.
for TV, I would say I love Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Love it too.
um, and what am I watching now? Gosh, I you know what? I'll admit, I'll be totally transparent. I am been in the last couple of years, since my kids were born. It's been very difficult to watch TV without falling asleep. So, but what did I watch the other day that was really great? The 100-Foot Wave, which is an HBO show, and it's about Brian McNamara. I don't know if any of you are surfing fans, but he's the guy that discovered the giant waves in Nazaré, Portugal, and he held the world record. I think he surfed like an 85-foot wave.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
very, very interesting. 2-part series.
That's cool.
I also love all the ESPN 30 for 30s.
Yep,
The
I'm the
OJ
same way.
Simpson one was amazing. But yeah, I'm a big sports guy, and
I
all that
just
stuff
watched
too.
the one. Was it Malice in the Palace? That was pretty
I
good.
watched that too, actually. That was
Yeah.
pretty good. I
Yeah,
thought.
it was good. It was an interesting take because you didn't really get some of that behind the scenes footage that at the time, obviously. So that was great. If you haven't seen, if you like Curb Your Enthusiasm, and you definitely have to check out Ted Lasso. It's freaking great.
Okay,
It's
will.
awesome. It's really funny. It's awesome, and it's got the same kind of sense of humor. Chris, I really, really appreciate you coming on here. I thank you for all that you do for Remax in Canada, and you're very highly reputable and respected within the industry, and we certainly appreciate you being on. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having me, David.
Absolutely. It was great, and it was good to have a lot of insight. So anyway, Breakfast with the Broker every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Next week, we have another special guest. We might bring in a little bit of politics into the mix because we have for the state of Florida voter registrations, we have a lot of people that need affordable housing. And so we have a solution for that. So next Tuesday you will see my special guest. So anyway, Breakfast with the Broker every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate it. Be well. Have a great week. Take care, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye.